Hello, welcome to Entertain This, a podcast about movies, TV shows, and video games. My name is Hayden. With me, I have Mitch.
Hello.
And Tom.
Hello, Hayden.
And a special guest, Mr. Michael Lucker.
Hello.
This is our second time interviewing Mr. Lucker, and a very important time because this podcast is also brought to you by books. That's right. We read a book that you have published, Rule 1. A very deep and dark, you call it a Dent McCreary mystery.
I like to just say two of us read it. One listened.
Okay, I did both.
Oh.
So
I had to listen to it on Audible because I was driving back and forth to work.
We have consumed the story.
I appreciate any of you listening to it.
Yeah.
Or watching it or reading it. So thank you for that.
This is a solid story. We were trying to kind of find a way to cross movies and what we would identify this story to be. And I think Tom came up with the best concept. It's like the movie Seven meets Dirty Harry. Would you agree with that?
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid choice. So we all have personal kind of ties to the subject matter here. And I know I helped you kind of consult a little bit on the story itself. And it's really cool to see it on the actual page and whatever it will turn into. So
thank you. Thank you.
Before we kind of dive into what the story is about, well, you know what? We can kill two birds with one stone because this has a personal connection for you. Would you kind of expound on that for us, please?
Sure. So I started as a wee lad writing songs for girls I had crushes on in high school. And then I went off to college and wrote commercials for the local cable station. And then I moved to LA and I started writing movies. And then I got really sick. I started seeing doctors and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. And I ended up going on this journey all over the country and until returning to my homeland of Atlanta, Georgia, where I found doctors that could figure out what was going on with me and were able to get me better. But all along the way, I wish all those doctors knew what I was going through. I wish they knew what we were all going through when we are in pain. And so I decided once I got better to write a revenge story about me going back and taking out all those doctors.
One by one.
Yeah.
It's funny you mention it. I just saw on Fox News.
Yeah. It's interesting that so the story is about an FBI detective, an agent that is investigating a serial killer that meticulously and methodically kills off prevalent doctors who, in sort of a societal kind of like a justice revenge. Like you learn enough about the serial killer at some point in the book, and you can kind of identify with him a little bit. And so playing, but the whole story is still mostly from the POV of Agent McCreary. And I want to know why you identified with the killer, which is fine. It's a book and everything that comes with it. But like you just went full bad guy with him. And then you still like let there be this moral light through Agent McCreary. And I guess my question would be, how do you cut that down the middle like that? How do you keep it so all the morally gray stuff is still kind of black and white, and we're rooting for the agent in the end, even though you identify with the killer?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I'm glad that there's some gray around both the hero and the villain, because I think that's real. I think that's authentic. I think it makes characters more empathetic and sympathetic and, frankly, more frightening, because we can relate to the moral battle that wages within them, because we relate to our own stories and the challenges that we face in the decisions we make day in and day out.
Right.
I think a lot of bad books and bad movies and bad TV shows have all black-hatted villains that are all evil all the time, and they have all white-hatted villains that are all good all the time. And frankly, it's just harder for us humans to relate to them. They feel a little plastic to us. So
Yeah.
it's something that I like to do in all my writing, whether I'm writing books or movies. And I'm glad that it came through for you guys, and it seems to be coming through for others in the reviews that I'm seeing.
That's good to hear. I know you're kind of, would you say you're at the tail end of your launching for all of this?
Well, the book came out officially July 8th, worldwide on print and digital and audio. And I've been doing a book tour, and I just got back from Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm heading to New York soon, and I think we're about to book Chicago by the end of the year. And I've been to a few other cities, and frankly, I'm kind of tired of it.
I bet.
Because I really want to be back in my coffee shop or back at my pub, sitting and writing Rule 2. But instead, I'm like lining up air travel and rental cars and coordinating, events. And I know that's all part of it. And I have enjoyed the connecting with folks and meeting new folks and seeing folks that I know from, my former lives. But I really just want to be back with my, coffee and my laptop banging away.
Yeah. Yeah. I always assumed the life of a writer was just kind of quiet, just, I don't know, a cabin in the woods, just kind of punching away and then sending the book out and then just working on the next one. But it sounds like it's a lot more busy than that. And, you got publishers and everybody hounding you. I'm sure you get asked every day, when's the next book coming out? When's the next book coming out? So
well, that's a good question to be asked. I mean, it's better to be asked that than not be asked that.
That's true.
A lot of people are so enjoyed Rule 1, they're asking for the next one, and now I feel pressure that I never felt writing Rule 1.
Yeah.
It was one of the pleasures, because I've written under assignment and under deadline for so much of my career. And I've had accountabilities to networks and studios and producers and everybody else. And the book was just kind of like my sandbox to have fun and play and write whatever I wanted, the way I wanted, whenever I wanted. And now that it's out via a real publisher, now, people are all wondering, including my publisher, when the next one. So I don't know the answer to that question. Just know that I'm working on it. I was working on it this morning, and I hope to have something out, before people forget about Rule 1.
Here's an interesting question for you. So when you were writing this book, and I'm sure you had some very busy moments as you were conceiving the story and punching away at it, it probably consumed a lot of your thought space. Now that this book is out and you're trying to work on book 2, but you're being pulled away to do, signings and parties and whatnot to advertise the first book. What do you feel more stressed about? Or do you feel more stressed at this moment with the book than you did when you were writing it?
I don't feel stress. When you've been sick for years and you're going to see doctors all over the country, and you never know whether you're going to make it to the end of one day or the next. Having to do a podcast or an interview or a book signing or type under expectation is not really anything that significant. I know you can relate from some of your own, travels and travails and law enforcement in the military. It's like the daily, twists and turns that we have to face are nothing that, you've seen in the field,
Yeah. If I was to branch out into the world of writing, first off, I would be ecstatic just to get as far as you did with this book. And then I'm sure there's a factor of not knowing what comes next. Okay, I'm published now. What happens? And then the fire hose, drinking from the fire hose effect of everybody demanding your attention and all of that comes with it. I don't know how I would handle it. And you just seem to do it so gracefully. And kudos to you for being able to do that. I don't know how I would do it.
Well, that's very kind of you. I think because I was writing under pressure and deadline on $1 million projects early on in my career,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the good fortune of learning from talented, experienced folks that were in those trenches before me, I kind of learned how to handle it. So this doesn't seem like much pressure to me.
Right.
What's interesting is during my trip to Los Angeles a couple weeks ago, I was meeting with producers who were interested in turning Rule 1 into an 8-part limited television series, and that's very exciting.
Yeah,
and it's kind of pulling me back a little bit to the Badlands, if you will. And so not only in terms of process of cranking out episodes on a timely basis, but also back to, the mean streets of the big city of Los Angeles, where I originally got sick in the first place. So I think that felt more like, I don't know if it was stressful. Uncomfortable is probably a better term.
Yeah. I'm sure, having worked in LA as you did so long when you were there, and then you came to Georgia, and the film, correct me if I'm wrong, but the film world is much different in Georgia than it is in LA. And I too would probably be nervous about having to go back to something like that, because it's so cutthroat over there. Am I right?
Yeah, well, it is different. But Georgia's also my home. I didn't just come here after Los Angeles. This is where I grew up, right? So grew up here, went to college in Boston, moved to LA to seek my fame and fortune, and then that didn't work out the way I expected. And so I came back here. And so for me, being in Georgia feels like home, and it's a lot more than just the film industry. It's the hills and the mountains and the leaves and the trees and the nice people.
Yeah.
And Los Angeles just feels like a sea of cement of people elbowing and jockeying for, as I in the book, so few jobs, and that leaves a sour taste in your mouth. Even the guys that I met with in Los Angeles, they're incredibly successful, having done some very successful television series like Longmire and Yellowstone and Bosch and now Ballard, and they're always worried about where the next paycheck's coming from, what the next job is, and if this series or that series is going to get picked up, because they have mortgages, and their mortgages in California are bigger than ours in Georgia.
I believe it.
By a wide margin.
By a substantial margin.
Margin that makes you just want to throw up.
Yeah.
I want to ask, how long was the writing process for a book? I mean, obviously for this novel.
Yeah, so I think it varies for everybody. And for me, I wrote the rough draft of this in a year. And when I say rough, it was rough, but it was essentially the 72 chapters that are in there now. And then I got done and I read it.
Yeah.
And I took a swing at editing it the best I could with what I could see. And then I took time to share it with some smart people that know about law enforcement and know about the field of medicine and know about other aspects that are included in the story that are not my area of expertise. And then I took time to execute revisions based on that feedback to make it as best as I could. Then when I got it to a point that I thought was respectable to share with publishers and editors and agents, I started doing that lap and going to writing conferences and meeting with people and pitching to folks and then sending out query letters. And that took time until I finally met the two lovely women that own and operate this publishing house in New York. And they liked me, they liked my experience, they liked my writing, and then they loved the book. and they got behind me and said, let's take it to market. So altogether, that was 3 to 4 years.
Wow. I mean, some people, they work on a book for decades, and I think J.K. Rowling, she was working on Harry Potter forever, and then finally got picked up after like a decade of just taking it to different places. So 3 to 4 years sounds like a long time, but compared to some others, that sounds like you were exactly what they were looking for.
Well, I hope I have the same challenges that J.K. Rowling has had with her career from this point on.
What am I going to do with all this money?
What am I going to do?
I guess I'll get the Shelby
make it all worthwhile now. But the thing for me though is like the writing is really, really fun. Mm-hmm. Sadly, there's nowhere I'd rather be than like in my story, in my laptop, in my coffee, like breathing life into these characters. And there's a lot of wit in my writing, and I literally am laughing out loud at the coffee shop.
I was about to ask you, did you chuckle when you wrote some of these lines? Because even when I read through,
I'm laughing like a motherfucker, and the baristas are looking at me wondering if I've kind of gone around the bend. They know me because I'm in there far too often. But I am laughing out loud, and then I get scared in the scary parts, and they probably see me getting all serious in the serious parts, and they come and check on me every now and then and bring me a muffin.
Don't worry, I put extra blueberries.
Yeah, exactly. Anything to kind of keep me properly nourished to keep typing,
Well, I myself, I get ideas and stuff, and I've tried to write a book a couple of times, and I never can make it past like chapter 1. So what keeps you going to where you can like flesh out this whole thing all the way through the process?
It's a good question. I was taught how to write screenplays in a way that forces us to lay out the structure, or obligates us to lay out the structure and know the beginning, the middle, and the end, and knowing the plot points between all those, and having that sense of structure and knowing where you're going, and then knowing your hero and knowing what they're trying to achieve and knowing what it is that they need to grow, helps give the spine of the story. So I have a roadmap to follow when I'm writing, and it's what I teach at the university to all my writers there.
Hey,
so that nobody gets to the middle, and nobody or anywhere else in the story and gets lost, because we've already figured out what those major turning points are, and we know where we're headed, and that helps give a little clarity and helps give a little fuel to the path. You're just like, if I said to you guys, let's do a road trip after this and let's leave Georgia, and I said, let's go, and we were all in different cars, you would leave your house and you know where to go.
Right.
But if the moment I say, let's all go on a road trip tonight and let's go to Seattle, then you kind of have a destination and you can plot your course and figure out your stops along the way. And I think having those is essential.
Okay.
Yeah. I too have tried to write in long prose, as not nearly as big as your book is, but I find that I'm always forgetting about something. There's always some plot inconsistency that I'm struggling to remember, or like I'll get like to page 100 and then the character had a weapon or a tool that could have solved this big problem that I've created for him right from the rip. And do you find yourself having some continuity errors? Because I couldn't tell any in your book. It was pretty solid. But did you bang your head against the wall a couple times with anything like that?
Things came to me along the way, and I found things that I needed to do, but that's the beauty of writing as a book. Until you press send on the final draft to the publishing house, it's always kind of in process. So you can kind of go back and drop things in and embellish and layer things. And I like kind of hopscotching, I call it, around in the story once I have my roadmap. And that's fun for me. And I can juggle those balls just fine, just in the way I work. When it gets complicated for me is if I'm working on more than one story at a time. And I've done that with screenplays. I've been writing one movie for one studio and developing two more for someplace else. And then that starts to be heavy lifting and make my head hurt.
Yeah.
But as one story and I'm dealing with one hero's journey, then I'm able to handle it. And I feel fortunate that that's the way my brain works. And I know not everyone's does.
Yeah. I think my brain works too crazy. Let's add some more recipes to this sauce. The next thing you know, it's just trash recipes.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it is a very clean and easy book, and I appreciate that because I consume a lot of books, and some of them out there I just cannot keep up with them. And
I love that I don't get bogged down with minutia.
Yes, yeah,
which is always hard with like law enforcement or military books, especially like something out of like Tom Clancy.
Oh yeah, Tom.
Where it's like he pulled up his HK, MP5. He slicked the selector switch. It was this.
It's a
color.
gun. Just say a gun.
It's like he swung up his submachine gun and he put a 3-round burst right into the guy. It's like, just say that.
Yeah,
it's easier.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think part of it is because I have a short attention span. I want to push story forward and I want to reveal character, and I don't get too lost in too many details. I know I don't like that when I'm reading books, whether they're textbooks for academic endeavors or whether they're, fictional stories. And I think the best stories, whether they be books or movies or television series, do push the story forward in every single scene. And you don't need more in a scene than does just that. You want to story forward and reveal character. And if you've done those two things in the scene, then get out of it and move on to the next one.
Right.
And I think because I'm so visual and I see the story visually from my screenwriting days, that's how I see the book. So one of the great compliments I've received from readers and non-readers is that they can see the story in their mind's eye when they're reading the page or hearing the audiobook because it feels like a movie.
Yeah, it's definitely a very visually popping narrative. And I mean, we've all casted these characters in our heads and stuff like that. It's definitely ready for the screen. So, and I'd like to get into that, but before we do, let's actually talk about the story. So, would you want to kind of just paint us the non-spoilery picture here? That way we can kind of pick at it just a little bit.
We'll be right back.
Ever wondered what a rhythm-based stealth game with dinosaurs might look like? Or a farming sim in space with zombies? Welcome to the Gaming Blender podcast. I'm Matt, and with my co-host Scott, we take a random game genre and random game mechanics, blend them all up, and pitch wild, totally hypothetical games you've never heard of, and maybe shouldn't. New episodes every other week. Hit play and unleash your inner game dev. No coding required. Search the Gaming Blender on your favorite podcast app now.
Well, sure. We talked already about the general log line of an FBI agent hunting a serial killer, hunting doctors across America. But what I didn't really go into yet is the hero and who he is and what he's plagued with personally while he's pursuing this killer. And that is the agony of having just lost the little girl that he loves, that is the daughter of the woman that he had been dating. And when I say lost, they're still alive. It's that they're just broken up because the woman he was dating was cuckoo for crazy. Cuckoo for cocoa. Sorry. And so he's like trying to manage his own personal demons that he's drowning with alcohol and cigarettes and poor dietary choices. And while he's trying to do his best to, save doctors across the country. And I found that putting this character, who has his own health issues, if you will, on a path of finding someone who has their own health issues, created this really kind of cool dichotomous parallel where they could sort of ultimately see things eye to eye. And I think that makes the ebb and flow of their cat and mouse pursuit really relevant and kind of more emotional.
Right. The through line for Dent is pretty prominent. He's a broken kind of, I guess you could say, past his prime agent looking for a serial killer. And you do talk from the serial killer's point of view in a couple of chapters, but the real allure is the serial killer. Whenever even in the aftermath of his crime is when the FBI is investigating the murders, like the amount of gore and the stuff that has happened, the intricate little details and things like that are just
the way they die.
The way they die is all very fascinating, and
unique.
Yes, it's very unique. That's that Seven appeal. That movie.
Most
Seven.
Investigators would be like, I don't even know what to do. Are we looking for Satan?
So,
well, I'm sorry to say that those murders were crafted from the symptoms that I felt while I was sick, those years that I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of what I used for my roadmap when I was crafting the story. All the cities that you read about in the book were cities I went to. And those doctors were doctors that I saw whose names have been changed to protect the innocent or not so innocent.
Dun, dun. Not so innocent.
Yeah, and the symptom and the agony they feel or endure is what I went through, and it's really my way of sharing with the world, and the cathartic expression of what I went through that few people would ever be able to relate to, I hope.
Yeah.
But would give them a better understanding of what chronic illness can feel like for those that do suffer from it.
Yeah. I didn't, because we had talked personally before, this book and the struggles that you had gone through, and then reading the book, I knew it was fiction, obviously, and I would disassociate all of that. And then I think after I read the book and I talked to you about it again, you reminded me about your illness, and I was, and once I could firmly associate those two things, it is an eye opener, the amount of struggle that must have been. And but I'm glad that you're okay and everything's good. And I think this is a great advocacy for people that have struggled from, I guess you would call it malpractice or just like gross negligence and people
true lack of understanding.
Yeah. So
yeah, all those things. The thing that has surprised me is even before I got the book out, I started sharing with a few folks at events or conferences or whatever what my book is about, and I saw so many people's eyes well up or jaws drop because they had been through it, or their parents had been through it, or their children or their siblings. And it seems like, unfortunately, in this day and age, even given the advent of medicine and the technology we have at our disposal, that there's so many answers we don't have. And there's physicians, nurses, healthcare practitioners of every shape and size and form that don't take the time or do the work in order to find the answers that are necessary.
Right.
I think everybody who probably read through it, like as you got to certain doctors, you're just like, you in your head associate it to a doctor you had met in your life or had known. Like I remember like one of the doctors, like horrible bedside manner. And I'm just sitting there reading through it. I was like, oh, this is like when I was a little kid and I was sick and he like didn't believe me and I threw up all over his shoes. And then all of a sudden he believed me.
Yeah.
See, that was your own form of vengeance, getting back at that doctor. I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
I was only 6, but I did the best I could. Now, the character of Dent, like, where was that inspiration? Was that kind of like a person you like wished would go after these guys? Like the total antithesis?
I named him Dent because he's all the broken facets of my own identity and personality, except for the drinking. So a lot of who he is and how he grew up and how he's grown and what he's been through and the women he's dated, for better or for worse, are shades of my own life. And I just knew that when I started, I wanted to be merciless in crafting that character. And I wanted a name that embodied brokenness. And I came up with Dent, which is short for Denton, which is a traditional Irish name that only his mother calls him in my Pictionary, world. And so, yeah, everybody calls him Dent, and it just seems to work. And all the producers in Los Angeles love it. And there's never been a character called Dent. And it looks good on the cover of the book. And I think it's a name that is really resonant with the readers. So I think that's
it's certainly one of the more real law enforcement type kind of characters.
Yeah.
Or investigators that you get. I mean, people like Reacher. It's like the dude's 6'6", can bench press a F-150, remembers every song he's ever listened to. He doesn't even need an iPod. He can just walk and play it to himself in his mind. It's like, okay, that's a little out of there.
Yeah. This guy's more pop.
You got Bosch, he's, playing, things on the ragged edge.
Right.
He likes jazz. He has a beautiful house that he just got somehow. It's like everything kind of just worked out.
Yeah. Dent's not disassociated. And that could be because of Butter, the little girl. It's kind of keeping him grounded and, invested in some aspect of humanity. So
a one bright spot.
Yeah, I think a lot of readers I'm seeing in the review really like the fact that he feels broken or authentic, and that I haven't, whitewashed him in some way where he's all shiny and glossy for movie stars. It's like he's a broken fuck from the beginning, and he has what I was looking for really is a great character that I could dig into, that I could pour my own pain into, but also had massive potential for growth.
Yeah, everybody loves the redemption story. That's for sure. So
I hope, by the end of Rule 1 that I don't want to give anything really away, but that there's, some hope for a better life for some characters.
Yeah, some catharticism for sure. And you definitely, it leaves you, it's a very satisfying, complete story, but it definitely leaves you wanting to know what's going to happen with this character afterwards. So a lot of room to grow.
I'll say this, just as the investigation in Rule 1 leads Dent McCreary through the underbelly of healthcare, Rule 2 and even Rule 3 that I have in mind are investigations in other worlds that sort of exploit the challenges and flaws and weaknesses in those.
Yeah, hopefully with the same methodicism and also the point of view from the antagonists. I feel like Dent wouldn't be as interesting as he was in this book if we didn't see him through the killer's eyes. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I think it's important to kind of humanize our monsters and beasts, no matter, what shape or form they're in, whether it's Hannibal Lecter or Thanos or Jaws. if we can kind of like recognize, I don't know, the demons that made them, it makes them more human too, rather than just rabid killing machines.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I did like about the book, it has almost like a vintage nostalgia kind of hits as you kind of go through. Like reading the first couple chapters, like I can almost picture Jack Webb, like going like, "This is the city, Los Angeles, California."
Oh, I love that. I haven't heard Jack Webb, but that's great.
I was like, it always had like the Dragnet thing, like his ringtone goes off and it's the Night Stalker from the 70s with Darren McGavin. And I was like, look at that. Yeah. It's like, this kind of like little hints of like little pop culture just thrown at it.
Yeah.
That kind of, because a lot of that really does mirror in law enforcement.
I love that. I started, you might remember in that opening scene where we meet Dent, he's got Casablanca playing and Bogart on. And I think, you know, part of Dent's character is a nod to Bogart and other broken men full of testosterone and ego that have learned. And, you know, from the movies that we grew up with, you know, from the Lethal Weapons and Die Hards and Rambos and all, you know, there's pieces of those that have just ingrained themselves in my soul, and I think leak into my pages.
He does pull from a lot. You kind of get the Humphrey Bogart, like, you know, all the gin joints in all the world. She had to walk into mine, kind of feel. And then, like, you know, suddenly he's kind of like a Spencer Tracy, and then kind of shifts to Cagney, and then like almost John Wayne-esque.
I got some Sam Spade in there, some old school hardboiled stuff too. So
those are great. I wish that we had this conversation a few years ago. It would have saved me a lot.
Honestly, people even like in our generation don't appreciate the old hard-boiled detective stuff. So this could be the beginning of a resurgence, a renaissance, if you will.
I hope so. We'll see what happens. I'm learning the way the publishing world works. I know a little bit about film and TV, but this is its own form of Wild West, and it's part of the reason that, you know, I'm spending the time this fall really trying to promote it and trying to get the word out, just to do my piece on my budget with my schedule. You know, do it best I can to try and help, you know, encourage people to give it a read, because I think they'll enjoy it if they do.
I had another question for you. We've talked about Livingston, which is the antagonist, and we've talked about Dent, which is the main protagonist. But what kind of inspired you for the Dent partner, Charlie?
Chuck Norris.
I knew I needed someone for Dent to bounce off of in order to divulge the exposition worthy of this genre. And I knew I wanted a foil that was different from him, and would kind of like push his buttons in ways that would give clarity to his issues. And believe it or not, there's one young woman who was a student of mine at the university where I teach, and she was a lot like the Charlie character, and inspired me to craft it around her as I knew her. And then, of course, I built upon the seeds of that into the character that she is. But she was one of the first people to read the book. And she was surprised at a few of the twists and turns, but she knew that she had inspired me, and she's thankful about it to this day. So, and as am I.
Well, I was going to say, like, you know, without revealing them, there are several twists in here that you don't normally see coming.
That is true. That is true. Do you think that all authors, and I know you can't speak for everybody, but like, are so open about what their inspiration that they pull from real people in their lives, like you do, or do you think that all authors that don't are just lying? You know, so
I'm kind of new to this game, so I imagine there may be some attorneys in my future that'll caution me not to do that much. But and when we're taking things out for distribution for film and television, there's attorneys there that spend a lot of time making sure that no names or comparisons can be drawn of real people. But I think it's a big part of who we are as authors and writers and creatives, that we are inspired by the folks around us and the people whose paths we cross with. And I think it makes the characters more authentic. And I think it's one of the things that people are connecting with and enjoying about Rule One, is that these characters feel real. And the truth is, they are to the most part. You know, in doctors I've seen, or women I've dated, or baristas that have served me, I pull all the time. And I've heard Quentin Tarantino say the same thing, that he pulls from his daily life daily in his writing. And if my characters can be compared to his in any shape or form, I'll take it.
Absolutely. Maybe you can write about a podcast being murdered in one of your books. That'd be great.
I
am in the middle of Rule 2, so could be
the podcasters are serial killers.
Podcasters. You want to be the killer? You want to be the victim?
No, I want to be the one who has no idea that the two of you were doing it.
That's great.
There's a good twist. I like that.
Well, okay. So from your film background, and like you said, you're kind of in the talking phase of this being optioned into a TV show. How much creative control would you have over it? Or is this kind of like, I'm just the author, sign here, and then it's somebody else's problem?
If it becomes a television series, I think they'll probably want me to be on board as a consulting producer and maybe as one of the writers, and I'll most likely be one of the show creators. And it's part of the beauty of the privilege I have in working with my buddies in Los Angeles, is that we're crafting it together, and I'll be a big part of that. And I find that potentially exhausting.
Yeah.
But also kind of liberating, because I can protect my
story,
character, protect the integrity of the content, and I can weigh in. But still, if we sell it to Netflix or Amazon or NBC, they're the ones paying for it, and so they're gonna have strong opinions, and those will all have to be navigated.
Yeah.
If we've had some interest from feature producers too, and if it goes the way of a feature film, I wouldn't be surprised if they said, "Thank you very much, Mike. We've the book. We'll let you know when the movie's coming out, and we might."
Here's a handful of money. Go away.
And to tell you the truth, guys, that almost appeals to me in some way, because it gives me time and space to go write the books, which I've found more gratifying than I ever expected. I've obviously built a career out of writing and teaching writing, but I never had the courage to write a novel, because there's so many words in those, and it's such a beast. And I was always intimidated by all that detail that we don't have to write in our 100 pages of feature scripts. But I finally, got up the nerve to do it, and I found it more rewarding than anything I've ever done. So now it's all I want to do.
More rewarding. So like this is because you have a phenomenal history in film with you did Vampire in Brooklyn, you did some Disney movies, you've got script work and all sorts of outstanding credits. And but this is your what's the magnum opus? This is it, huh?
I didn't know it would be when I did it. And frankly, I didn't know if anybody was going to like it. I just knew I had to do it. And this story is so personal that I knew it needed to be a book instead of a script. And I knew it had such meat to it that it kind of deserved, that quantity of content. And so I took a swing at it, and yeah, it's been incredibly rewarding. I think having the freedom to do whatever I want on the page, but also be able to delve into the characters' heads and be able to flip around in location and time, and really go into detail where I want, and offer my snarky commentary on towns and positions and just general culture. All those things we don't have the freedom to do in trying to write a movie or a script. So it was really fun for me. I kind of got to take the gloves off, if you will,
right,
and just do whatever I wanted.
A serious question.
Okay.
This does get out. Let's say it gets option to a film or TV show. What role do you want to cameo?
None. I don't like me on camera, and I have no desire to do anything really.
Yeah.
You want to play head of the FBI?
Maybe no. I was actually a cop, an undercover cop in Vampire in Brooklyn in the police station. If you look real close when they're tackling the woman in that scene, I'm one of the cops that's wrestling her to the ground.
Oh, nice.
I think it'd be good if you were a TV reporter.
And you know what? It was awful.
I didn't even know that girl. She wasn't even part. She was an extra. She just wandered. They said action.
Yeah, right. Well, Wes Craven was the director, and we were on set commenting on the script. And he goes, "Hey, do you guys want to be in a scene?" And my writing partner and I at the time were like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome." And they said, "Great, go see wardrobe." And they hooked us up. Like, I was wearing a leather jacket and a Yankees cap, so I kind of like looked like I could be undercover cop anyway. And they put weapons on us and badges or whatever. And then they sent us to set, and it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And then they go, "Okay, you guys stand over there. This is what's going to happen, and this is what you do." We're like, "Terrific!" And they shot at a time or two, and we were like, "That was awesome. Thank you so much." And we started to leave, and they were like, "Where are you guys going?" And we're like, "We did the scene." And they go, "That was one angle. You're shooting all day." We had to do that scene from like 6 different angles, 12 different times, and so we were just swinging by, and we ended up spending like 12 hours on set. And I
for what, 3 seconds?
That. Just
3 seconds of footage or something.
That's exactly what it was. 12 hours on set for 3 seconds on screen. So. Yeah, I think if I would be in an episode of Rule 1 or in a film if I was promised that I would not have to really do anything except sit in the back and be a whatever, drink at the bar for like an hour.
And or maybe I want to do like a Peter
Bletchley.
Talk
me into that. Yeah.
I want to do like Peter Bletchley in Jaws, where I'm just like the news anchor guy.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like,
nice.
He has like one bit where he's like talking about shark attacks, and that's like, and back to you in the studio, Hayden. Like, that's it. It's over. It's done. It's just like, that's the guy that wrote the book.
Well, then when they come to me, I'll recommend you. For that.
There you go.
Nah, make Hayden do it.
I'll mess it up, I'm sure, somehow.
Me and Mitch can be in the background heckling. Your character Dent, if you had to cast an actor like all time, who are you picking? I had an actor in mind when I read it. Like if I everybody was alive and I could do it, but who is your guy?
I think because of the movies I grew up on, and the characters in my head. I mean, there's a little Bogart in there. There's a little Bruce Willis. There's probably a lot of Nick Nolte from like 48 Hours.
That's a great one. Yeah,
perfect.
But now, and probably a little bit of others, but we had to put a pitch deck together for the agency who's going to help take it out, and the character that we have in there is Josh Brolin right now.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I could
if
definitely
I had to do
see
a
it.
modern cast, I would pick him.
He's got a so I reading the book and then listening to the book because Richard Poe, he's got this like gravelly voice that brings such gravity. That's where I get the Sam Spade hard boiled kind of vibe from. And you know, so now like reading the book, I'm picturing somebody younger for some reason in my head, kind of like a Tom Hiddleston or somebody that can do a decent American accent.
Nah, he's too pretty.
Yeah, he can get kind of sweaty and whatever. But anyways, and then after the Richard Poe listen, I'm thinking of like a heavier set kind of gravelly guy, you know. So Josh Brolin's perfect, you know. He's stocky. He looks like he could take a hit.
He likes to eat a hamburger or something.
Yeah.
You can see him kind of disheveled, like smoking a cigarette. Just like
absolutely. Or John Hamm. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like John Hamm.
He's on the list, and actually one of the producers knows him well, so we're trying to get him the book right now.
Whoa! Okay, all right, you heard it here first.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, you know, the likes of you know, John Hamm or Josh Brolin or anybody of that form that can pull off a grizzled, broken 40 or 50-year-old, I think would be great. And to be honest, the other character that was in my head a little bit when I was crafting him was Columbo, Peter Falk.
Wow, what am I
glad you didn't give him the eye.
The fake eye.
Look, I just got to ask. Can I just ask you one thing?
Must be my bad.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed it. But even when I read through it, I was like, if Robert Shaw was alive, I would have put him as Dent.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Yeah. Good.
Well, guys, do you have any other questions? I feel like we've kind of roundabout.
When's the next book?
Roundabout, we've hit everything.
I'm so grateful for you guys reading it and listening to it. And, you know, frankly, I've been humbled, especially in recent days, because reviews are starting to pour in from all over the world. And I kind of went into this like footloose and fancy free, but I'm starting to read the impact that the story is having thematically on people everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's getting me to sober up a little bit in terms of how I talk about it, because I had such fun writing this dark story, and I hope, you know, that comes through on the page. But when people put the book down, a lot of them are very emotional, and I need to be respectful of that. And also the fact they're taking the time to write reviews. I've learned in my short tenure in publishing that it's incredibly important. So anyone that may listen to this or that you speak with that can consider writing a review on Amazon or Goodreads or Barnes and Noble, it helps a lot. And you guys may know this, I didn't know this, that it helps because once you get to a certain number of reviews, then like the Amazon elves and their algorithms start marketing the book for you, and it takes on a whole new life.
Okay.
And it's
I'm banned from Amazon reviews.
Well, Rule 1, A Dent McCreary Mystery by Michael Lucker. It's a great book, very dark, grotesque killings, fascinating story, a quick read. I consumed it in like a day, and I read it twice. So I would recommend it. And then when you do get it, please get on there and write a review. It's anything to help the story grow.
5 stars only.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lucker.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We'll do it again for Rule 2.
I love it. Hope so.
All right.